Does it feel like you're racing through life, trying to dodge shells, look out for obstacles, and just get to the end as fast as you can? Whew. That was a close one. Sometimes I just get so focused on trying to win and pass all my opponents. It can be really hard to remember why I'm in this race in the first place. Am I here to win? Of course I am. But there's a bigger question that I don't think we ask ourselves enough. In the face of failure, will the journey have been worth it? When we're super caught up in the race of life, it can be super tempting to really imagine yourself at the finish line with the #1 trophy, just winning the game, getting to the final destination and being able to celebrate. But something that we kind of forget to think about is that the destination and the potential celebration that goes with it is actually the shortest part of the whole experience. If you consider this the start and this the end of our journey here, most of what we experience is kind of the ups and downs of a journey, the turmoils and trials that it puts us through, the hardships, and then when we finally get to the end, we get to the finish line, and then we get to celebrate. But we forget that the celebration is the smallest part of the entire journey. Most of the journey takes way longer, is way more interesting, way more challenging, where the celebration part only takes up a little bit. When we start to imagine ourselves at the finish line, finishing the race, winning the first place trophy, achieving our goal, we forget that that celebration is very short-lived. And even if you have people to celebrate with, most of the time people stop caring pretty quickly. And so then you're left alone with nothing but your experience of the journey. And I think bringing ourselves back to really experiencing the ups and downs of a journey and the turmoils, the trouble, the problems you have to solve, the growth you have to go through, and the things you learn along the way, switching our focus from the finish line to the journey itself is kind of a lost art, it seems. Say you do win. You get the first place trophy. Now what? Are you done with that activity forever? Are you going to do a race again? Are you going to try to get another first place trophy? Because if you are, then you're gearing up to do this whole journey once again. And we forget that just because we can get to the end, and we can get to the celebration, and we can win the first place trophy, it's not guaranteed. In his book, The War of Art, Steven Pressfield talks about how for 17 years, 17 long, hard years, he worked towards writing his own screenplay and having it premiere at the box office. Well, after 17 years of hard work, it finally paid off. He had a movie that was set to premiere, and he couldn't have been more excited. He had finally reached the finish line he had been working towards for the past 17 years. Just let that sink in. He worked for 17 years to try and bring this one project to life. A screenplay that gets turned into a movie and sent out into the world at the box office. And what was that movie, you might ask? King Kong Lives. Have you ever seen it? Well, if you said no, there's probably a good reason. It sucks. And Steven Pressfield has no delusions about the quality and the outcome of this movie, King Kong Lives. He even says that in the first review he read about the movie, the review reads, Steven Pressfield, we hope this is not his real name for the sake of his parents. The movie was so bad that there was a fear that even Steven Pressfield's parents would get flack for how terrible the movie was. You can't get much more devastating than that. But then he goes on to meet with a friend who asks him, are you going to quit? To which he replies, hell no! He's going to keep going. Sure, this may be the worst thing that's happened to him in his 17 years of trying to make a movie, only to have it flop and be the laughingstock of the movie industry. And at the response to saying he's going to keep going, his friend tells him, then be happy. You're where you wanted to be, aren't you? So you're taking a few blows. That's the price for being in the arena and not on the sidelines. Stop complaining and be grateful. Even in the face of failure, if the journey you took to get there was worth it, then did you really fail? Despite the embarrassment that Steven Pressfield probably felt in the midst of all this failure, and in the midst of thinking that he made it to a celebration only to find out he had conjured up the roast of Steven Pressfield, flash forward to today, and now his book, The War of Art, is considered a masterpiece among artists and creatives. But imagine if he had given up after the failure of King Kong Lives. We would not have this beautiful book. So then the question becomes, okay, if we get through all of this and we don't get the celebration, we actually get nothing, we fail, we don't win the race, maybe we spin out here, and this is where our journey's cut short, will the journey up to this point have been worth it for you? If the end and the win is not guaranteed, would you still want to do what you're doing right now? And if you do get totally shut down in the middle of your journey, in the middle of your race, are you willing to start back at the start again and give it another shot? Or will you be so defeated from this loss that you're never even going to try to get to the celebration again? So not only do we have this phenomenon where the celebration is a very, very small part of the overall experience, but it's also not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed to reach a goal no matter how hard you try. Even if it's a really good goal, even if it's super important, something might happen that you could fail. What are you going to do with that? Will the journey up to that point have been worth it? And at any point in our journey, we might hit roadblocks that prevent us from going completely. We might even get right here, right up to the finish line, and then our engine totally explodes and we can't finish the race. We're done. We can't do it. We just have to give up. And the question then becomes, are we going to do it again? And are we going to do it again? And despite all of this, do we keep going? And that's the question I have for you. What is something that you want to keep going at, even if you fail 100 times, even if you never win, even if you give it every single thing you have day after day, and you still fail? What journey will be worth it for you?